1806. How do we deal with air pollution? Well, 1970, that was the dawn of the environmental movement, and that's when a lot of things were done. Congress created the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and then they created the first of multiple series of the Clean Air Acts. So Congress created the EPA to do many things. One of them was to establish regulations and focus on key air pollutants. So what were these key air pollutants? So they came up with national ambient air quality standards, right? They had to have a basic standard and they can judge everything else off of. So they created that and focused on carbon monoxide, NOx, SOx, suspended particulate matter, number of particulates in the atmosphere, tropospheric, which is bad, ozone, and lead. Lead, which was a problem because this was still the dawn of the time of leaded gasoline. That was coming back to us through the rain and ending up in our soils and giving people lead poisoning. So we set maximum allowable levels. Then we also had national emissions standards. So they came up with a list of 188 hazardous air pollutants, abbreviated HAPs, hazardous air pollutants. And most of these are industrial products, so they are chlorinated hydrocarbons, volatile organic compounds, or some type of toxic metal, lead, mercury, cadmium, all that stuff. So is it making a difference? Yes. In 2007, a major study was done, and they found that there's been an overall 49% decrease from 1980 to 2006 of these major air pollutants. And you can see they've been decreased at varying degrees here. Lead, because we got rid of leaded gasoline, because it was reduced by 97%, which is great. VOCs, this is like the new trend. If you go to Home Depot and you buy paint, everything's like low VOC, no VOC paint. So we're starting to get savvy that these VOCs are more toxic than we originally thought. Carbon monoxide, from less smoking indoors. Also for improved combustion, because incomplete combustion makes carbon monoxide. So by having more efficient power plants, oil burning power plants, coal burning power plants, we've gotten rid of a lot of that carbon monoxide. Same thing, that increases efficiency has decreased the amount of SOx and NOx and suspended particulate matters going up into the atmosphere. But of course, there's always problems. So again, one of the questions I always like to ask you guys about is cleanup versus prevention, right? Pollution cleanup, pollution prevention. So we still rely too much on cleanup. That's going to happen probably forever. Failure by Congress to increase fuel efficiency standards for cars and trucks. Until a couple of years ago, when you guys were paying $4 a gallon for gasoline, no one gave a crap about efficiency. When I first started driving, it was 86 cents a gallon to get gas for my car. I didn't care how efficient my car was. Nobody did. But now it went up to $4 a gallon, people started caring. So there was just some new efficiency standards set that will come into play in 2016. And that increase only came about because the public finally stepped in and demanded it and put pressure on the government and said, this is crazy, we're gonna go broke paying for gasoline just to get around, to survive and live and make ends meet. Motorcycles are very limited in regulation for everything from insurance regulations to safety regulations to efficiency regulations. So and as they become more popular, because of fuel costs, right, they are a lot more efficient than a car, right? They have to start regulating that more heavily. Ocean-going ships aren't regulated, which is crazy. Either are airports, and then there's been a lot of talk about doing more for greenhouse gas emissions, like carbon dioxide. Maybe putting a carbon tax on there to keep people from consuming, especially industry. If they could somehow become more efficient, burn less coal, natural gas, any fossil fuel, they would release less carbon into the atmosphere. And in our areas where we've urbanized a lot, we have lots of cars driving to and fro. We need to implement more public transportation. So that would reduce the number of cars on the road, reduce the number of amount of gasoline burned. Gasoline is attributed to NOx, if you remember that from the other slide. NOx, when it reacts with ultraviolet light, produces photochemical smog and ozone. So that's where this ozone is still coming from. And that's the end of 1806.